They can lose weight, create the dream body that they want where they're like, holy crap, I look and feel amazing. This is wicked. Now, how do I stay here? And that's what I help people do, is like being able to stay at that body weight without dieting forever, which sucks. No one should be doing that. You should not be living on a diet forever. Diet is a small chunk of time that is dedicated to weight loss. And then you should get back to living life and know how to eat pizza, enjoy ice cream, have some drinks, go on a vacation, and know how to do that without freaking out and being like, oh no, this isn't on my diet. I'm going to get fat again. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to admit something here. A lot of people will assume that not getting fat is easy for me. I'm a fitness person, so it's got to be easy for me. Tim, you're into fitness. You're a gym guy. This is your world. All you fitness people, this is just easy for you. And I got to tell you, it is. It is easy for me. Now, a lot of people would probably be offended by that. Be like, see, I knew it. And this is the thing, though, is it is easy for me, or it's easier for me. It's probably easier for me than you, depending on where you're at in your journey. But this is the thing, is I want to explain why it's easier for me, because it wasn't always easy for me. It took time. And the important thing to understand here, I was just telling Alex this before, the reasons that not getting fat is easy for me, I can maintain my current body fat relatively easily. The reasons are all things that are available to you. And I'm not saying those things are necessarily easy, but you can do those things, which then make not getting fat, and or these would translate well into weight loss as well, to lose fat. It will make it easier for you. So if you do these things, if you commit to doing these things, not perfectly, but just commit to doing these things over time, it will become easier and easier. Because I went through this thought process with myself where I was like, okay, so I'm teaching my clients how to lose fat, lose weight in a way that makes it sustainable. Not the weight loss sustainable, but the body fat maintenance sustainable, so that they can lose weight, create the dream body that they want where they're like, holy crap, I look and feel amazing. This is wicked. Now, how do I stay here? And that's what I help people do, is like being able to stay at that body weight without dieting forever, which sucks. No one should be doing that. You should not be living on a diet forever. Diet is a small chunk of time that is dedicated to weight loss. And then you should get back to living life and know how to eat pizza, enjoy ice cream, have some drinks, go on a vacation, and know how to do that without freaking out and being like, oh no, this isn't on my diet. I'm going to get fat again. You won't if you do it the right way, in my opinion. And that's what that's what I teach people to do. But I was thinking about it. I was like, all these people that I help do this, it's hard for them right now. It will be easier for them over time. They don't necessarily believe that yet, or aren't confident with that yet, but I can see it because I've been there, or at least a version of there, and I've committed to doing these things over time, over years, over a decade plus, almost 2 decades, and it's resulted in the process becoming way easier for me. So when people assume it is easy for me, yeah, it is. It is now. And it's way easier. And the longer I do it, the easier it gets. And the same will be for you if you commit to, changing your body through sustainable habits in a behavior and mindset perspective, as opposed to just following a diet and then figuring out as you go. Usually that ends up in the same kind of spinning your wheels type of situation, and you end up wasting your time. But if you take an approach similar to what I take with my clients, just changing these habits, changing these underlying self-limiting beliefs, changing the mindset, changing the perspective around not just what we eat, but how and why we eat. The more you do this and the longer you do that, it gets easier. It's literally the only way it can go. It doesn't get harder. It gets easier. You'll have hard, phases along the way. You'll have hard moments. You'll have challenging times, because that's life. But over time, when you zoom out, it gets easier, and you can kind of get to the place where I'm at, your version of where I'm at, where it's like, I don't worry if I have to go home, not have to, that's not a good way to say this either, but if I choose to get shawarma or pizza on the way home today after I'm done recording this episode, I'm not worried that I'm going to get fat or I'm derailed off my fitness. I'm good. I know how to do that. And yeah, so that's what I want to explain today. It's like go through basically those reasons, because I was thinking about that. Like, why is it easier for me? What are the specific things that I've done and continue to do that make this easier for me now than it was in the past, and easier for me now than it is the people that I help right now? And that's what I'm going to go through here. So first one is I carry more muscle than average. There's a lot of people way more jacked than me. But there's a lot of people, especially when you take just the overall population of everyone in society, I have more muscle than most of them. And this has happened over 10, 12, close to 17, I guess. Yeah, 15-ish, 15 to 16 years of exercising and lifting weights, resistance training. And doing this has helped build muscle. What building muscle does that makes it easier for me not to gain fat is it makes my metabolism run at a higher baseline than someone who would weigh the same as me, but with less muscle. So this is why building muscle is important. You see a lot of stuff, especially online right now, which is good. This is like one of the best internet trends ever in the world of fitness, which is that more people should be strength training, more people should be building muscle. And these are good. I've done a whole other episode on, how to periodize and phase your journey so that you're not going after too many goals at once, which usually results in not achieving any of those goals, but how to break down whether you should be gaining muscle, primarily going after that, or you should be primarily trying to lose fat, because typically we can't do both things at the same time, at least for an extended period of time. So you should be going after one or the other in general. So when I'm not in a diet phase and I'm not trying to lose weight, which is a very short period of time relative to when I'm not losing weight, I'm trying to gain muscle gradually, slowly, and I'm consistently. And I also practice the patience to do that. Just take my time. I let, even right now, it's like the last time I cut was last November, and I stopped in March, 4 months, 4-month cut. So last March would have been about 6 months from now. And so for the last 6 months, I've been literally the same body weight, up and down, but I'm in the same channel, right? Maintaining my body weight. And my body fat percentage is about the same from what I can tell. My clothes fit the same. Visually, I look the same. But my muscles are a little fuller because I have a little more food in me. But since I haven't really gained a bunch of weight, I probably haven't even really gained much muscle. And I'm fine with that right now. I'm kind of just in a space where I'm just hanging out. And that's easy for me. For a lot of people, that is hard. But it gets easier the more muscle you have, because if the more muscle you have, the higher metabolism runs at baseline. And then the more food you can eat, the more room you have for error. I don't know if error is the right word, but more margin for error in the sense of, give you a little inside baseball here. Like 3 days ago, I had half a bag of chips. This is exactly something I would tell my clients, let's avoid this. But I'm human and I understand they're human. They're going to do the same thing. Not regularly, hopefully, but I don't do that regularly either. But I didn't worry about it. Didn't derail me. Didn't worry about it. But also I have more margin for error in the sense of, that won't really pull me off track or add any appreciable body weight to me that actually matters in the grand scheme of things. First of all, because I don't regularly do that. Second of all, I carry more muscle. So I have room to flex my diet a little bit there and have a little bit of room for what I would call, quote unquote, extras. I decided to have dessert one night. I decided to have a little bit of chips. I decided to have half a bag of chips, which is not something I would recommend and not something I will regularly do, but I didn't worry about it because I know I'm going to be fine. And more muscle helps me with that. Second one, I prioritize movement each day. And what I mean by that is not just weight training and exercise, but I mean just movement in general. Literally hand talking like I'm sitting here, which isn't a lot of movement, but it is movement. One of the ones that I prefer, and I prefer to use with my clients because you can do it anywhere, and with anyone who can use their legs, they have the capacity to do this, is walking. Just walking, which is great. Walking is my preferred method for myself personally, as well with my clients. But I also recently started running. Now, I'm not doing running because it is, better fat burning or something like that. I'm doing running for a number of reasons, like mental health stuff. I noticed that cognitively, I just feel better with it. I also want to just pursue a different mode of fitness that I haven't been doing for the last several years. And I feel like being a newbie and a beginner at that is kind of fun. And also, I like the idea of running because it's like I can literally just put on my shoes and go. No matter, as long as the weather isn't horrible, it's like I can just go run. And that feels good. So one of the added benefits is because running, if you measure it and compare it to walking, I will be getting in more steps, more movement in a shorter amount of time. Great. So I could theoretically get more steps in a shorter amount of time. So it could help with fat loss or body weight maintenance in that sense, but I'm not even using it from that perspective. I will still aim for the same step count at minimum every single day. So I'm still prioritizing movement each day. And it doesn't have to be deliberate walking, although most people will have to do that and should be doing that, going out and being like, I'm doing a deliberate walk, 30 minutes at lunch, I'm going for an hour walk in the morning, I'm going for an hour walk at night, whatever it is. Those are good. But those count just the same as cleaning the house, running around and doing errands, and walking through the grocery store or whatever it is. All of that moving is the body doesn't know the difference between that and just walking around. It's all movement that the body requires. So that is important, prioritizing movement each day. Next one here. I manage my expectations around what changes are reasonable to see after a week, month, and year. This is a huge one. A lot of people really struggle with this. Patience will make you happier. Trust me on this. And for me, like I said, I've spent the last 6 months since I ended my last cut, and I'm at the same or similar body fat percentage, pretty much the same weight on average. And I haven't really struggled because I practice the same habits that I did when I was losing weight. I'm just eating a little bit more food than I did before. And I'm doing all the things that I mentioned already previously here. It's like I regularly weight training. I'm prioritizing movement and walking each day, on top of already carrying more muscle, which happened from years prior. So those are all the decisions that have led up until now. And then the mental side of this is the patience. So I'm adjusting my expectations instead of being like, it's been a month. Why have I not seen changes already? Why am I not feeling changes already? And it's like, even right now, it's like I didn't really deliberately try and build more muscle. Or I guess I am deliberately trying to build more muscle, but I'm not aggressively trying to do that. Because if I was, I should be a little bit heavier than I was 6 months ago. But I'm fine that I'm not, because I'm cool hanging out in no man's land right here and just being. And that requires patience and being okay with that. So that is basically a reflection of managing my expectations of what is actually reasonable and what is actually realistic as far as changes to see. If I'm not willing to add more food into my diet, then I can't expect to see muscular changes in the next month. That wouldn't make sense. I need enough food for that to happen. So if I'm not willing to eat more food and be consistent with that and regularly do my weight training, then I'm not going to see muscle in a month, more new muscle in a month. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. And I have that patience. So that is a huge one. That's a big mental one that you are in control of. It's easier said than done, but you can definitely commit to improving that. And it helps hang out in the present and be okay with the process, the long process, play the long game. And it makes it a lot more enjoyable. The next one, it's important to understand that, thinking about my last cut, November to March, last winter, that it was not my first time losing weight. I've been doing this longer and practicing these lifestyle habits for more time than many, many other people. This is important because a lot of why things are easier, or this is easier for me now, is because of the years of consistency and the years of decisions that I've made up until this point. That is sometimes overwhelming for people because it's like, oh my goodness, it's so many years until I see the changes that I want. It's like, no, you'll see changes along the way. But for you to be very far along, it'll take a lot of time. And that makes sense, right? It doesn't happen overnight. But that can feel a little bit intimidating. But if we reframe this to make it actually a little bit more mentally comforting, is you look at it like this: time is on your side. So if you look at it like time is on your side, it's not working against you. You just need to do this for longer. That's a good thing, as opposed to trying to race against the clock. So if you just know, hey, I just have to stay the course and I will win, then that's a great feeling, where it's like, the more I do this, the longer I do this, the better it gets, the easier it gets, the more changes I make. So That's how I would prefer to look at that, reframe that, is just time is on your side. And that should encourage you to just stay the course and stay consistent and not give up. Next one. I eat the same meals most days or a similar version of them. Part of that is I accept that I won't be excited by most of my meals. That is a key mental game changer for a lot of people. If you're constantly looking for food to excite you, for food to fill a void emotionally or to comfort you, then this can be a very, very hard one. And then you're constantly looking for food based on how you feel. Now, I'm not eating foods that are gross to me or foods that don't taste good. All of my meals taste good. Literally 100% of them taste good. But some of them taste a lot better than others. My wife, Sam, made me dinner last night, and I was like, it was honestly all the same foods that I typically eat. But just the way that she prepared it, I was like, why does this taste so good? And she was like, because I'm an amazing chef, obviously. And that is true. But it tasted better than my lunch did. My lunches typically are boring because it's like I'm working through the day. I don't need like some exciting, tantalizing, decadent lunch. I'm okay with that. And I want something that, for me, it's easier for me if it's quick and easy to make. It supports my digestion, makes me feel good, and it supports my fitness goals. That's it. So it doesn't need to taste amazing. It just needs to taste good. And I'm good with that. But those are generally, it comes back to eating the same things or similar things every day. That can be overwhelming for people where they're like, well, I don't want to eat the same things every day. And it's like, you don't need to, but you should have some go-to meals where it's like maybe breakfast is the same or a similar version every time with a couple subtle tweaks here and there. And then lunch, maybe it's a similar version. So maybe it's almost always like turkey or chicken or some version, some different cuts of turkey and chicken. Maybe it's different seasoning, different sauces. You can switch it up that way. Maybe you switch out the vegetables or the greens here and there. And maybe it's in a wrap sometimes. Maybe it's with rice another time. But I would recommend not switching those things up too often. Keep them as similar as you can for as long as you can and make subtle tweaks here and there. But that has been a huge help for me. A huge hack has been just eating the same or similar meals 90% of the time. Not all the time, but 90% of the time. Good chunk. The next one, I make room each week. This plays off the last one, which is good because then you probably think like, well, what do you do you got to enjoy food. So what do you do for yummy stuff like restaurants or takeout or whatever? Leads me to this. I make room each week for foods I don't normally have each day. I do this typically twice a week. Sometimes it's more. Most of the time I aim for twice a week. And so for me, like Pizza Wednesday, I do Pizza Wednesday. So every Wednesday, I go do date night with my wife, Sam, and we go to the same place every time. And we either do takeout and bring it home or we sit down and enjoy it there. But I get the exact same pizza from them at the exact same place. And sometimes that changes. But like 90% of the time, she's a creature of habit. So am I. So it works out. But it doesn't have to be the same thing. But it just works out for me that I just get the same thing every Wednesday. And that helps because it marries very well with the previous point of eating the same or similar meals most of the time. 80 to 90% of the time, something like that. And then 10 to 20% are pizza on Wednesday, shawarma on the weekend, sushi on the weekend, meal at my mother-in-law's or my parents for hanging out with family and having one of their meals, and that would be one of my meals that I wouldn't quote unquote normally eat, that is really, really helpful, is just having that target of like, yeah, twice a week, I'll just eat something that's totally off, totally different from what I would normally eat. And that's good because we should be enjoying different foods. We should be enjoying new foods. We should be able to enjoy food socially with family or friends out at a restaurant or back at home or whatever at someone else's house without worrying like, this is off my fitness plan. This doesn't, fit with my diet plan. But this gives me anxiety and now I'm feeling like I'm off track. And that's not a good place to be. I think you should be able to make room for that. No matter if your goal is staying at your current body weight or if it's gaining weight or if it's trying to lose weight, you should still be making room for that. All of my clients have room for foods like this. It's not a super strict meal plan that they can't ever deviate from. There is room for controlled deviation and ways to do that in a way that they enjoy and with foods that they can look forward to and be like, I'm freaking fired up for this. This is exciting. I'm excited for this meal. And going back to something I said earlier is like looking at all of your meals to be exciting is a huge challenge, something that will get in your way. And that's not a good or healthy way to look at food. Normal to be emotionally driven by food to some extent. Food is emotional to some extent. We need to understand that. And because we're humans, that is normal, that's understandable, and it's actually healthy and should be encouraged to some extent. If it's too far the one way, then it becomes an issue where we're looking at every meal to be exciting and to be comforting. Next one. I don't eat based on how I feel now. I eat based on how I want to feel later. This is a tough one, but or I should say it's easier said than done, but it gets easier the longer that I've done it, like a lot of these. So if you're trying to improve something like this, what I would suggest is just paying attention to how you feel now. And when you do that, observe how you feel without judging yourself for it or assigning a moral value to it, like you're good, you're bad, whatever. And then then going to the next step of being like, well, what am I trying to do? What is my priority right now with my fitness, my health, my life? Who's the person I'm trying to become? What am I trying to do physically, emotionally, mentally? And then make a decision with your meal that you're about to do, make a food decision based off of that. And that's what I do. I just look at it through the lens of when I'm about to eat a meal, I look at it through the lens of like, does this support my goals? And you may ask you may assume that Pizza Wednesday doesn't fit my goals, but I would argue that it does. It absolutely does, because part of my goals is being able to enjoy meals socially with my wife, family, friends within the confines of a larger landscape of a dietary plan. And so it absolutely fits. Next one. I don't beat myself up if I go out to a restaurant more than usual more than my usual once or twice a week, or if I overeat sometimes, or if I have a snack when I shouldn't, like the chips I was just talking about. I acknowledge it and I move on without dwelling. That's huge. A lot of people, they'll make whatever they deem to be a mistake if it doesn't support their goals, and then they're like, I'm a failure, I feel guilty, I have a bunch of negative emotions around this, then they feel discouraged, beat themselves up, have a bunch of negative self-talk, and then they struggle to get back on track. So if you're able to just acknowledge what you did and be like, I'm not a bad person because of this, this just isn't a goal, or this isn't a decision that aligns with my goal, that's okay. I'm not going to be perfect, and I'm okay with this. And then just move on. Move on, accept it, learn from it, so you can hopefully be a little bit better or improve how you handle that in the future. And then it's actually a positive. That's actually a good thing. But being able to move on from that and not beat yourself up is huge. Last one here. I find parts of the process to enjoy. This way, it's easy to stay consistent because I genuinely love the process and I don't feel like I'm rushing to get a certain outcome. So this goes back to expectations and just being patient, taking time, and not trying to, I have to do all of these things and I can hardly wait till it's done so that I can get the thing that I want, and then I'll be happy, and then I'll be good, and then I'll be whatever you're expecting to feel. It's important to not just be focused on the goal that you're trying to get down the road, but also find ways to enjoy aspects of the process. It's going to be way more sustainable, way more enjoyable, and you'll be more likely to be consistent with it and actually stick to it. There's a quote about this. I think I've shared this before, but it's like something like the man who loves walking will walk farther than the man who loves the destination. So that's the idea, is like enjoy the process and find parts of the process that you enjoy. And this whole thing gets way easier. Hopefully you found this helpful. Maybe you found it enjoyable and entertaining to some extent, but hopefully you found it helpful and valuable, and you could take this and apply it to yourself. I'd love to know what you think. So please leave a comment below if you're watching this on YouTube. If you have any questions, you can DM me on Instagram at I am Tim Walcott, or you can DM the show at Stay Peaked. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel because we're dropping episodes every single Wednesday. Thanks a lot for watching. We love you. Peace.